Welcome students. In today's class, we are going to discuss about some preventive measures for the viral, bacterial, the protozoal diseases and the diseases caused by the vectors, the idea of vaccination, the types of vaccination and some first aid measures. The idea of first vaccination was conceived by this scientist named Edward Jenner. In his time, the smallpox was quite a deadly and dominant epidemic in the whole world, and a lot of people died from smallpox. In smallpox, a lot of pustules or blister-like thing would appear on the whole body, on the skin, and it was filled with pus and watery things. He did actually collected the pustules and the blisters and the substances from the cowpox, and then he injected it into his milkmaid's son, and then he injected the pustule and blister substances from the smallpox into that little boy again. In the result, he saw that the boy was strangely resistant to the smallpox after being inoculated with the cowpox virus. So he came to the conclusion that the people who were already exposed to the cowpox virus was further resistant to the smallpox infection. The smallpox infection was not at all deadly and severe in those people. So that was the first idea of vaccination that was conceived by Edward Jenner, and later this idea was implemented by Louis Pasteur to make the vaccines for anthrax, cholera, then chickenpox, etc. So what is the actual biology behind the vaccines, or how the vaccines are working? Vaccines are working by activating the immune system and making a memory of themselves in the immune system. Let's see. The vaccines are nothing but the weak or dead form of the germ that is causing the actual disease. So it is given in the dead form or weak form. So it is not causing the severe form of disease inside our body, but it is doing some other function. It is actually sparking our immune system, mostly our white blood cells, and making them active and also creating a memory of themselves in the white blood cells. And the white blood cells are also developing the antibodies, which are quite like the antitoxin against the toxin of the germ, like the virus or the bacteria. The antibodies or the antitoxins are going to attack the toxins secreted by the virus and bacteria and going to get rid of the body from these infections. And when the actual disease is caused in some person, the immune system or the white blood cell of that person is already acquainted with that form of the germ, either it is a virus or bacteria, and its immune system or the body immune system of the human being is better equipped to fight that germ, and the white blood cell of that immune system is also having memory of that germ and infection, and they can easily and efficiently get rid of that infection from the body. The preparation of the vaccine can be different types. The first type is where in the preparation killed germs are given. That is totally killed form of the germ of the actual disease is given. Example is the TAB vaccine for typhoid, the Salk vaccine for polio, or rabies vaccine for dog bite, etc. In the second type of vaccine preparation, not the killed forms of germs are given, but living weakened forms of germs are given. That is, the germs have been made weak by some chemical treatment like formalin treatment, etc. and that form is given inside the vaccine. Examples are measles vaccine, BCG vaccine for tuberculosis, etc. And the third type is where the fully virulent living form of the germ was given, like the smallpox, where the totally living form of the cowpox virus was given, and then the smallpox virus was inoculated. So here the fully virulent living germ is given, but since smallpox is totally eradicated from the world in the recent times, so it is not anymore practiced. Toxoid is nothing but the toxins that are secreted from the virus or bacteria. Here the entire bacteria or virus is not included in the vaccine preparation, but the toxins secreted from them is included in the vaccine preparation. Examples are tetanus, diphtheria, etc. Immunization is actually a process by which artificially we are introducing something inside our body and making us immune to a lot of diseases. So there is a very fine line of difference between vaccination and immunization. Immunization is a more broader term and it has more broader aspect. So vaccination is just administration of the antigen, that is the killed form or the weakened form of the germ or disease causing germ or the toxins from that germ inside our body to stimulate our immune system to develop an immunity against them, to develop some antibodies inside our blood to prevent those future infections. But immunization is the process whereby a person is made immune or resistant to an infectious disease or a lot of infectious diseases, typically by administration of a vaccine. So that is what is immunization. Immunization is a process which contains vaccination. Vaccination is under immunization. So vaccination is a narrower thing and immunization is the broader concept. First aid is the processes or things that are done in case of emergency situation and when a person is threatened with some deadly situations or some other problems. The first aid for burns include the removal of all the jewelry around the burn area and all the clothes from the burn area as well. Then there is the cooling of the burnt area under running water. But in case of third degree burn, or which is the most severe case of burning, the cool water is not applied. It is not prescribed to allow, and not less than 20 minutes. For 20 long minutes, it should be kept under the cool water in case of first and second degree burns or in case of chemical burns. Then the burning area should be loosely covered by a cling wrap or some damp-free dressing so that it does not stick to the areas, because otherwise it will be very painful to remove it later. And after that, obviously the patient needs to be admitted to the hospital depending on the severity of the burn. In case of bleeding, the first thing that we need to do is to elevate the part of the bleeding above a little bit of level than the heart, so that gravitational force is reduced and not a lot of blood is actually flowing through the wound. And then we need to put some fresh and antiseptic dressing on it, and also we need to rest the injury, and also after that, if the bleeding does not stop, we need to take that person to hospital. And in case of fracture or injury, we need not remove, or we need not try to put the part of dislocated part or the sprained part properly by ourselves. We should wait for the doctor to do it, but we need to protect the injury by some pad or some slings in case of hand dislocation or something. And also we need to apply some ice packs for reducing the swelling. In case of some irritation in the eye, the rubbing of the eye is totally discouraged. It should always be cleaned with cold water, and it should be splashed into the eye so that whatever that is causing the irritation, that can be cleared out. In case of unconsciousness of a person, suddenly, a lot of people should not cram around that person, and a lot of fresh air should be given to that person, and the clothes should be loosened so that the person becomes more relaxed. In case of poison swallowing, we need to make that person vomit. So in order to do that, we need to make that person drink a lot of salt water, which is going to make the person vomit, and in that process remove the poison from the stomach. In case of snake bite, we need to squeeze out the blood at the wound so that the poison does not get inside the bloodstream in a deeper form. And also we need to bind a tourniquet or some clothes very tightly above the wound so that it does not get spread into the bloodstream. In case of sting of a bee or wasp, we need to remove the sting from that part. Then we need to squeeze out some blood which might carry some poison, and then we need to apply some alkali like baking soda so that the part can be rested, and the part can just decrease the burning feeling. In case of fever, which is not a disease but it's actually a symptom of a disease, when your body is fighting some infection, the temperature becomes very high, we need to apply the ice packs at the exterior or peripheries of your body or extremities of our body, like the hands or palms and the toes, the feet, in our foreheads, etc., to bring down the fever or bring down the temperature. Tobacco comes in different forms. A lot of people might chew tobacco in a chewable form, or some people might smoke the tobacco in cigarette form. All of these chewing form or the smoking form can cause a lot of disorders and lot of problems in our body, starting from a mouth disease to a lung cancer. When a lot of tobacco is chewed for a lot of time, there are yellowing of teeth, the gum diseases, oral cancer in case of very severe chewing of tobacco, vision problems as well. And in case of smoking or chronic smoking, there is a risk of lung cancer in the extreme cases, heart diseases, heart stroke, cardiovascular disease, and risk of heart attack increases a lot of times. The persistent cough and COPD, that is constructive obsessive pulmonary disorder, obstructive pulmonary disorder, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, and risk of lung cancer also increases. There is some fertility related problems as well from chronic smoking. There is infertility, lower sperm count in case of males, erectile dysfunction in case of males, and also a very weakened immune system, premature aging, etc. Chronic alcoholism or chronic intake of alcohol for a lot of time in a very high amount can damage the liver at most, cause liver cirrhosis. Then it can also cause a lot of heart diseases, because excessive intake of alcohol can deposit a lot of cholesterol inside our blood vessels, creating a high blood pressure and also heart failure and myocardial infarction, etc. And it is also very harmful for the kidneys as well. The kidneys might fail, and it also causes damage to brain function, because there is temporary loss of consciousness, and it can cause a lot of problems in a lot of multiple organs. The drugs that are causing an insensible condition in the human body, which make us unconscious or feel differently from the realistic situation for some time, are called the psychotropic drugs or narcotic drugs, which are the most harmful, like morphine, cocaine, heroin, LSD, methamphetamine, opium, etc. Such drugs have a very high effect in the nervous system, in our short-term memory, in the cognitive development, etc. It can also cause a lot of harm to the respiratory system, in our cardiovascular system, and mostly it causes addiction. That is, we are becoming addicted to the drugs, and if the drugs are not given to us, we saw, or we whatever the drug addicts are there, they show withdrawal symptoms. That is, when the drug is withdrawn, they suffer from a lot of problems which are called the withdrawal symptoms, and it becomes very hard to give up on the drugs, and they should go through a lot of procedures for a long time to get clear from the drug addiction.